4, 8, 16, even 48 gigs of VRAM. With cards slowly increasing their pool of available memory, some GPUs have been pushed to the side simply because they don't have a comfortable amount of this ever so necessary resource. So with games slowly starting to increase their memory usage, as well as minimum requirements starting to increase, what's the lowest amount of VRAM that you need to game in 2019? Okay, so to understand the trend of memory usage that we're going to be discussing, it's important to mention the history of graphics cards and take a look at how memory has scaled across different models over the years. The first modern-ish GPU that we're going to be discussing was the GTX 680, which had a rather large for its time 2 gigs of GDDR5 when it launched back in early 2012. Now, by the time that the 680 launched, the HD 7970 had actually been on the market for a little over a month at this point, and it was one of the first cards to popularize having 3 gigs of VRAM. Now, as time went on, and especially after the launch of the current gen consoles, VRAM usage slowly crept up, and it bottlenecked some rather high-end cards. Now, this was partially solved with the release of the GTX 780, which, like the 7970, featured 3 gigs of GDDR5. But towards the end of 2014, the GTX 980 released, which was considered a very high-end card and featured the now mainstream 4 gigs of video memory. Now, in higher-end cards such as the 980 Ti and the Titan X, 6 and even 12 gigs of video memory were actually quite common, and they were actually needed to push the resolutions that they were targeted at. Now, moving into the present day, most modern mainstream cards feature at least 4 gigs of usable VRAM. Cards such as the GTX 1050 Ti and RX 570, which are both targeted at delivering 1080p gameplay, fare rather well for themselves and don't usually have a problem with maxing out their frame buffer. But the most recent mid-range GPUs now exclusively feature either 6 or 8 gigs of memory. While for 1080p gameplay this is more than enough, for higher resolutions such as 1440 and 2160p, this can actually limit you in certain use case scenarios. Ultimately, the amount of VRAM that you should be looking for is pretty dependent on your target resolution. For 1080p, 6 and even 4 gigs is more than enough to get the job done. And if you're buying any sort of modern 1080p targeted card, odds are that the onboard memory is more than enough to power you through all your favorite games. But as you dial the resolution up, VRAM usage also increases, to the point of requiring 8 and possibly even 11 gigs of memory. Now, do you need 22 gigs of memory to be able to play Battlefield 5 completely maxed out? Well, no, you'd actually probably be able to do it on a much less expensive 6 gig card. Now, the problem that pops up most often with GPUs, especially lower end ones, is that they mostly feature 2 gigs of memory. While that should be fine for sub 1080p gaming, if you're looking at running a game at anything higher than 900p, 3 gigs is basically the cutoff. Now, if you're looking to edit videos or even spice up some pictures, then your VRAM usage will also go up accordingly. If you're looking for a GPU that will keep you covered for most situations, then I would be looking for something featuring at least 4 gigs of memory, and preferably 6 gigs if possible. But if you're on a tight budget and don't plan on maxing anything out, then 4 gigs is more than enough to get you through about all modern AAA games at 1080p. But keep in mind that memory usage does scale with resolution. You don't need a 48 gig Quadro to power you through Far Cry 5, but you also shouldn't look at a 2 gig GTX 750 Ti if you're looking to play Doom at 4K. Just try to be reasonable with your system, and try to partition the importance of your parts based on how you plan to use your system. Check out benchmarks and see how much memory the games you're wanting to play are eating up. Just doing research can actually help you a ton, but if you're looking for a safe bet in 2019, then something rocking 6 gigs of VRAM is definitely the way to go. So, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll be notified about all our future uploads. Also, if you are interested in participating in our 2,000 subscriber RX 480 giveaway, then the link to enter will be in the description, and it should only take about a minute or two to have multiple entries. And tell us, what do you think is the required amount of VRAM in 2019? Do you think it's actually lower than what we recommended, or do you think we actually lowballed it a little bit? Tell us what you think. I can't wait to see what you have to say, and I hope you have a fantastic day. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.